This is Simon transparently awakening the heart of humanity as we see beyond the lies and open our eyes to realize
this is our time to rise.
Ready?
Yes!
Born ready!
Okay, let me just move
round.
round.
We've got the love hearts. Wow, hello. Let's take a breath first because I get excited when I'm with Bridget. Okay. Welcome everyone to another podcast with myself, Simon Transparently, and I'm feeling very excited and alive right now because this is another soundbite for Self-Love Now. And today I'm with my friend, my great friend of many years, that was really at the beginning of my awakening journey, you could say. Today I'm sat right next to, in her home in South Africa, Bridget Finklaire. Hey love.
Hello, my love. It's gorgeous to be here on the sofa with you once more.
Yes.
What is it, 12 years?
12
we were
years.
just saying.
Yeah.
What a journey.
Yeah. And we were on my mum's sofa in her little flat in London.
That's right.
And now we're on this beautiful chaise lounge at yours, the love palace. On this beautiful view. And what a journey. And we've still been weaving in our own beautiful way. And you've been here living for, nearly 10 years now, no? In South Africa.
Been in South Africa for 11 years.
11 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So literally not so long after, and then we stayed in touch online, but now we're getting to meet each other in the flesh.
Yeah, which is fantastic. We haven't seen each other for so long.
Yeah.
But it's really nice to have that physical connection as well, hey?
Really nice, yeah. It's been really beautiful to reconnect. So, of course, I couldn't, resist to get an opportunity to, have you on the sofa. And today's topic, of course, is self-love, based on the book that you were number one in the book of the 54 authors that came together to share their, why self-love is important. And yeah, we just sat here, we just read it again, actually, and we're kind of just blown away by what we just read as well, because it feels so aligned. But yeah, what comes up for you in this moment around self-love and what we could share to those that, are listening?
Well, first of all, I just think it was an amazing project to put that book together. And for me, love is a connector. It connects people, and it's the gift that keeps on giving, because it just is like a tsunami of love. It just touches one person, that one person touches two more, and it's just cumulative, if you like, and can see how these messages in this book are just going out. What I've really struck me as you read it again was how it still stood the test of time. It still feels fresh, what I wrote. I feel very honoured to be the numero uno in the book. Thank you for that. And when you read it back to me, I thought, did I write that? Wow, it still seems to stand. I had thought, I've moved on from there. And I think the reason I felt I would have moved on from there is because I feel that life is a constant journey of evolution. We're constantly evolving in consciousness, in awareness, and as a result of that, we're bringing in more love. So whatever we do, we talked about gratitude earlier, whether it's gratitude for your life, whether you're meditating, whether you're going inside to reveal the shadow. I know you do a lot of work with that, with the stripping back, to the naked retreat, or whether it's transparency, or whether it's becoming comfortable with who you are. Whatever it is that we're doing on this journey called life, we're learning and growing. And as we're learning and growing, there's more love coming in. So I think we get greater and greater definitions of what love is. So I kind of have a feeling that to understand self-love, we've got to understand love first. And I think that my understanding of love keeps growing as I keep growing. I think the sort of love that we have here is just touching the very edges of a greater love, that maybe we get tastes of honey. And if we look at, say, the poetry of Rumi, and things like that, he's not talking about romantic love. He's talking about something much bigger. So feels that love is the ground of our being, and love is the pure creative light, the pure creative substance, which is everywhere, not just in this three-dimensional reality, but in a multi-dimensional infinite cosmos, is just teeming with love, is created from love, is emanations of love. Within the Keys of Enoch, which I study a lot, we talk about love-powered emanations, which I think is a beautiful expression.
Say again.
love-powered emanations of light. So there's this much greater love, which is the glue of the universe, which is the great connector, which is the great womb of creation. So the more I understand about what love is and how the love we have here is just a kind of a poor reflection of the higher love, then you have to kind of reassess, okay, so what's self-love? And I think in that first piece that you read back to me, there was a lot of, for me, it was like, oh gosh, this is an interesting question, I haven't really thought about it. And so what is self-love? And we talked about practical things like saying no, putting boundaries in place, looking after yourself, putting your own needs first. What's the kindest thing I can do for myself as self-love? And if everybody heals their wounding and becomes love, then we can stop wars and greed and corruption and all the things all the ills of the world. I think there is probably an evolution of understanding what self-love is beyond that, because I think it's multi-layered. It's not just one thing, which is why you've got 54 different perspectives on what love is and what self-love is. So self-love for each person is going to be tailored to where they are in their consciousness, what they understand, where they are on their journey. And that definition of love and self-love is going to change as they evolve. So self-love for me now is about freeing the mind and freeing the psyche from the wounds and the traumas that we go through life, through the childhood conditioning, the social conditioning, the programming of the world, of the culture that you live in, of your upbringing, your time that you were born, all of these things. The more we can take away layers and layers and layers of that, the more we go back to the ground of our being, which is pure creative spirit. And that pure creative spirit is kind of like a mixture of love and light and peace and joy, which is just a vibration. It's a very high frequency and a very high vibration, and it's very powerful. And we can tap into that, but we can only tap into that when we give ourselves the tools and the time to go on that journey to discover it. It's something to discover within yourself.
Yeah, there's layers.
Layers and layers.
Yeah, and then as we bring awareness to those, you said earlier as well, heightened awareness, but as we bring awareness to those, we see beyond the programming, the indoctrination and the conditioning, as you mentioned, right? And you was talking about that, working on your next book as well, no?
Yeah.
And the way like it's been a continual flow for you. I noticed, even just meeting you again after so long, no, of just feeling you in that vibration, in that heightened frequency, and not, I just want to say, not without challenges, you know, because, you know, you've had a lot of challenges in the last years as well, but there's something that keeps anchoring you back into that, I would say, that greater love that you're describing.
Yes.
What is that? What does that? How did that happen?
Oh, we've got a couple of days.
Yeah, you have a couple of minutes.
It's a really interesting question. I think that love, that notion of love, of that greater love, was probably seeded within all of us and seeded within me from the time I was born. But it gets covered over. It gets covered over with the conditioning and the programming, and we don't see it. And I think that people on the spiritual path, either they have some kind of an awakening like you did, or they have something that jolts them onto a spiritual path. And for me, it was a lot of the wounding, and I think that's where that saying from Rumi comes, you know, the wounding is where the light comes through. So the wounding is all the terrible things that happened in our childhood and the stories we tell about that, and the pain and the suffering that goes with it. And as the Buddha said, life is suffering. So that suffering really led me to go, I don't want to keep suffering like this. There has to be another way. And little by little, I suppose, as those veils lifted, as those layers unfurled, as those things come to light and we see them and are able to then take the power out of them, and particularly being a therapist, was able to use tools that allowed me to process adverse childhood events and traumas and things like that. As that happened, I began to literally see the light, because I would be meditating and I would feel like the sun was coming up inside of me with my eyes closed, and I would feel this sort of warm, fuzzy, loving feeling. I think we spoke before many years ago about how some people just get that awakening and they go straight up to the top of the ladder, and other people just plod gently up the ladder. And I'm one who's plodded gently up the ladder all my life, really. And so it's been a very slow revealing. You know, when you see a kid that you haven't seen for ages and you go, "Oh, haven't you grown?" How your aunt would say to you when you were a kid, "Oh, haven't you grown?" It's because they're not noticing the incremental growth that's going through with that child, because they're not the mother, they're not there all the time. So haven't seen that child for 6 months, they can see a massive difference. And it's that incremental growth in my life that has revealed this greater love, and then that becomes my touchstone. And then the more I've gone on that journey, the more I've been able to anchor into it. Meditation has been really probably the most fundamental and primal thing that's done that, because in meditation, when you stop that monkey mind, you're able to allow that love to come in and for it to touch you. It touches you by the grace of the divine, in a way. So that love touches you, and then I'm anchored into that as a meditation, as a regular meditation practice, and then that informs everything else. So it's one of those growing cycles. We were talking about that earlier with the gratitude cycle. You start off by thinking, "Oh, I'll do some gratitude."
Yeah, I can't even write 20 things, but I do my best.
I'll struggle with 3 things I'm grateful for today. And then as that grows, it starts to come back and it starts to expand. And then you start to be living gratitude. You're living grateful. I'm incredibly grateful that we're here today on the sofa on this beautiful day in Cape Town and that you're here and we're doing this interview. So there's this beautiful appreciation for the beauty of life, which just fills more love and anchors you deeper and deeper and deeper. So it's a snowball effect.
Yeah, and the word that popped up is exponential. It kind of goes into that now. It's like it keeps accumulating. There's that saying, isn't there? What you appreciate appreciates.
Yes.
And it's like that sense of like it keeps maybe expanding. Not the best word, but it just keeps filling you up. And I love the piece you said. Yeah, please jump in. But I love the piece you said when you said stop the monkey mind. And I know that that's a big challenge for everyone. And I'd love you just, whatever else you want to say as well, but just to weave in, because I know we're a sound bite, but I could speak with you for hours and hours and hours.
100 different sound bites.
Exactly, 100 different sound bites with you. But there's a couple of things I definitely want to catch with you today. And one is, you know, that journey of creating the space between what you called the monkey mind. Just touch on that a little bit, you know, like through your practice, you started to notice that incessant thinking did start stopping for you?
Yeah, for sure. So the monkey mind is the chatter that's constantly there in our brains. So unless you're asleep, for most people, there's constant self-talk, constant thoughts. You know, did I leave the iron on? Or what it might just be, what am I doing tomorrow? What shall I eat for?
I'm stupid maybe, or why did I do that again?
There's a lot of negative limiting beliefs that we have as well in self-talk. So it could be a whole range of things, but the point is the mind is constantly going, it doesn't really stop. So the point of meditating is not to suppress those thoughts, but to be mindful, to watch them and to keep going back to the focus of the breath. And so at the beginning, when I started my meditation journey in year 2000, and at the beginning it was really hard. I mean, it sounds like the simplest thing in the world, doesn't it? Sit still, watch your breath, don't think. It's the hardest thing in the world. So you sit there and the first thing you think is, oh, I'm uncomfortable. How long have I been here? Have I been here for a long time? I'm not doing this properly.
Yes.
You know, the 1,000,001 things rush in. And often they rush in because the mind is busy all the time. We're listening to music, we're watching our phones, we're listening to podcasts, we're constantly bombarded by information and noise and sound. So it's very rare that we go quiet. So when we finally go quiet and sit in meditation, the brain goes, oh, great, I can tell you all these things I've been trying to get through to you all day long.
That's a great, yes.
Just pops up. Did you know, by the way, but I don't think you should really be doing that. You know? So all these things pop in and crowd in, like a great flock of birds coming into the brain. So that's the monkey mind. And the practice of meditation is to just observe that, don't beat yourself up, go back to the breath, keep going back to the breath. Oh, the monkey mind's gone off somewhere else, keep coming back to the breath. And I remember at the beginning, I might get 1 nanosecond of no thought. But as I progressed, and I really made this commitment to myself to meditate every day in those days, apart from possibly Christmas Day and my birthday.
Yes.
I'm a bit more lax now because I do other practices that take me into a meditative state and a mindful state.
But we just spoke about one of them being just presence in the garden now.
Total presence in my garden, So, but I do still meditate, and what happened is over time, that nanosecond became longer and longer and longer and longer, until the point where I could probably do 20 minutes without thinking. And when you can do 20 minutes and all you're doing is total awareness, so you're just aware of the breath in your nose and your nostrils, or the temperature of your skin, and what then happens is this love starts to anchor into the body, become embodied, it comes into the heart, and the heart just opens, and you just feel like you're sitting there radiant with a smile on your face, and there's no chatter. And it's not that you're not thinking, and I think this is a misconception people have about meditation. They think they're not going to think at all. No, you do think, but you're not just thinking about all these random things. You're observing in the moment what's going on.
Beautiful.
And you're freeing the mind to just be at ease.
Yeah, beautiful.
It's a very different thing than
but I'm so glad you brought that in, because it is that the piece where people get so confused and they almost stop the practice because they go, I can't stop this thinking. Why? And it's almost, that's a misconception. Because if you go in there thinking you've got to try to stop something, you kind of wrong foot off at the beginning, no?
Yeah.
So I love how you said that spaciousness came, a spaciousness between that. And you are that, no, you are that, sitting in that, and the smile's there, and you're radiating, and then you're feeling more. I love what you said as well, because there's a sense of, you allow in this deeper depth of the love that you spoke about at the beginning, no?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And then you're radiating it out as well. I think there's something else I just wanted to touch upon,
definitely.
which was where you said about, people think that they have to, not silence the mind and all of that thing. And you also talked about challenges earlier, and I just want to pick that up.
Yeah, good.
That, even towards 20 years after learning to meditate, this is now nearly 24 years after learning to meditate, but sort of like 4 or 5 years ago, when I was still meditating every night, as a formal sitting on the meditation stool, most nights I'd be able to do that. Every so often there'd be a lot on my mind. Maybe I was writing my book, maybe I had health challenges, maybe something was going on in my mind, maybe I just watched something that was very stimulating. The mind would not quieten. But instead of beating myself up about it and thinking, oh no, I've just sat here for half an hour thinking, I would just go, no, it's okay. I've sat on the stool, I've closed my eyes and I've breathed. And that's the tick in the box. And tomorrow is another beginning. And tomorrow maybe I'll sit in absolute silence. And anyway, even when it was chattering, towards the end of that meditation, the light would drop in, the love would come out. So there's never a wasted meditation. So if anybody's starting, don't ever think, oh God, I'm just thinking all the time, I might as well give up. Never give up, because it's the sitting and the consistency of it, and the intention to do it.
Yeah, beautiful. I got goosebumps as you said that, because I think that's the piece. And funny enough, as I said to you just sitting there a moment ago, didn't I? Even with the gratitude that we spoke about, I said that through the consistency of practice, I'm noticing, and I'm sure this is going to change for me, as it has for you, continue, should I say, is that I'm noticing a different sense of embodiment of the, let's say, the philosophies, the theories, the things I read and the things I practice, which I consistently do. And then when you start to feel them in a certain way, and I was describing to Bridget how, the wave of gratitude that comes in, and sometimes I get overwhelmed, and almost like there's a sense of overwhelming joy and love coming in, and sometimes a piece of almost like some grief there of like, oh, it's so much and I don't want it to go, right? Almost like maybe some would say from a meditation perspective, that's the craving and the aversion, no? Yeah. But at the same time, like it doesn't feel so, doesn't feel like negative. It feels just, I don't know, just, I think you just said it as it's like opening and just letting that wave of love in, which can feel really, and this, even as I say that, my heart is beating. It feels like, wow, yeah, there's just a lot to come in.
It's awe-inspiring, hey? Because we talk about being in awe of the divine, and I think that's what this is. Yeah. It's this awe-inspiring, almost overwhelming, almost too much for the physical body to take. But you also get to a point where you are seeing from a higher perspective. So we talked as well earlier on about superconscious, and when you can tap into the superconscious, you can tap into super awareness. So you're able to be the observer and the witness. So you touched on challenges in my own life, and I've had some health challenges, but because of the practice and this anchoring into love and this higher perspective and understanding and super consciousness, nobody's life is rainbow and unicorns. We live in a duality. We live in this life which has got suffering, and it's allowing it to flow. So it's allowing it to be and not judging that. So if you might feel that almost grief and overwhelmingness, it's not about sort of beating yourself up for that or trying to analyze it or saying I shouldn't do this or oh that's a terrible thing. It's just no, just allow it to flow through you, because we're here to experience it all. And during challenging times, I think we can reframe those as things that we're here to learn from. So the soul sort of, I think, plans certain things in people's lives. And those challenges, we learn from them. They're just there to help us grow in awareness, in consciousness. I've expanded my consciousness and learnt so much and healed so much within me as a result of not being well, which has then had a knock-on effect of being frustrating because I can't do the things I want to do. And as you know, I like to be out there doing stuff, and you're not well, you can't do that, I haven't got the energy. And then you have to go deep within yourself and unravel things. So but you've always got that anchored into love and that higher perspective that it's all okay. It's all part of what's playing out.
Yes.
It's like that Shakespeare thing, all the world's a stage and all the men and women simply players. And we're playing a part on this stage, but there's a much bigger picture. There's a much bigger reality, a much greater reality that we're tapped into. And we can see that we chose this to come in here. So then those challenges, we don't spiral into them so that they take us over in quite the same way. We might dip into that because we're only human. Quite often, you know, during my illness, I might go out in my garden and feel absolutely fed up because this is my second migraine this week and I can't get out of bed and I can't do all these things I want to do, and I feel really miserable. And I'll go out into the garden, and I always do this practice of bare feet and bare hands on Mother Earth, and I send her healing and love every day. And I would do that, and then I might be crying and thinking, I'm so fed up with this. But you can stretch beyond that and go, no, it's all part of what's here. And there's still gratitude for this, because I'm held in a higher space of light and love. And I know I'll come through this and I can witness it, and I can just say to myself, this too shall pass. I'm feeling a bit crap today, but by this afternoon I'll probably be fine. And by tomorrow I'll definitely be fine. And I'm always fine. And it's much easier to go through a dark intensive or a dark night of the soul, or through the pit, or whatever it is you're going through, when you know that it's just part of a learning, it's just part of something, it's just part of an experience, and it ends and tomorrow will be fine. And I think that's part of that whole craving and aversion that we talked about.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you for breaking that down. I think it's beautiful. And what I love, well, for me, the last piece on this is that actually what you're talking about there is almost, it's not about willpower. It is about willpower, and it's about the way that you have worked with the mind to have a deeper understanding of the mind has enabled you to move through these challenges and just in life and answer that. And I'm currently, as I said also to you earlier, for those listening, I'm currently on an unwavering focus course, and he's teaching me pieces I already knew, but if we don't have the repetition and the consistency of awareness, we don't rewire the subconscious mind. And I know that, of course, that's why I do my practices. But as I'm listening to this, I'm getting another layer of education around the mind, and a reminder that we just was never taught about this, the mind. Yeah, some people have aversion to meditation and go, oh, what's that? It's spiritual. Or, I'm not in India, or whatever the story is. Or I don't teach yoga, or, you know, and they kind of block that. But ultimately, in order to love ourselves in the way that we're talking today and let that in, there has to be an understanding of the faculties of the mind and everything else that's going on. That's how I see it. So the more we have that greater awareness, the more we're able to tap in to, you've mentioned Buddha and many other teachers and the keys of Enoch that you work with. But that is an education or a re-education or a relearning, no? And it feels to me, love, self-love is also that. Yeah, so I don't know if you just finish us off with that little piece.
Yeah, there's actually something I really want to say about this. So the first thing is that we're talking the keys of Enoch about putting on the higher mind. Because we're in a trapped mind. The ego mind, the monkey mind, is in this negative limiting belief mindset. And we need to transcend that to put on the higher mind, which is the higher mind of love, of unconditional love. And when we put that higher mind on, we will embody that love. And if we're embodying the love, that is self-love. So that to put on the higher mind, two things need to happen. The first thing is we need to reach for the higher mind and reach for those higher thought forms, for the higher vibrations, for the higher understandings, for the gratitude and the love and all these things that we're talking about, which is the spiritual journey. And the other thing that has to happen is we have to heal the stuff that's holding us back into the lower mind.
The traumas, the domestication, as you said earlier.
So there's a two-pronged approach. That's the first thing I wanted to say. And the other thing I wanted to say is about the embodiment, because I like to work sometimes with different, modalities. And I like the Kabbalistic tree of life for this. So the tree of life has 10 sephirot, they're spheres. And those spheres are sort of attributes of the divine. And the very top one is called the Keter, and it's the crown. And that is the putting on of the higher mind, the reaching up for higher thought forms of light, of love. And we do that when we awaken and when we choose to go on a spiritual path, when we meditate, when we go into gratitude, when we're learning and growing and focused and all of these things. And there are many, many pathways to the top of the mountain, and you will find your own path. But we're opening that mind, and that mind brings in wisdom, which is chokhmah, which is the next sphere on the tree of life. But it has to balance with the other side, which is binah, which means understanding. And I usually tell a little story about this.
Please.
And it's just a simple thing to help you to kind of get this, that supposing you'd never swam in your life, you'd never swum in any water anywhere, and you wanted to learn to swim, and you go on YouTube and you watch a few videos on how to swim, and you read a book on how to swim. Now you've got wisdom, you know how to swim, you've got all the techniques, you know everything about swimming, you've done your YouTube, you've done your books, but until you get into the water, you will not understand how those techniques work. So then you go to your local river or pond or pool or wherever you go, to some body of water, and you get in, and then at that point you go, oh, this is a different experience. Actually having to put what you've learned into practice is a whole new ball game.
Yes.
And now you start to understand what swimming is, and then eventually you can swim. And when you can swim, you've got both the knowledge, the wisdom of how to swim, and you've got the understanding of how it works. And when those two imbalance, it drops into the hidden sephirot of da'at, which is knowledge, which is in the heart. So it's like it's dropping into the body, and now you know how to swim. You not only got the wisdom, you've got the understanding as well. But it's not just swimming, it's anything we do.
Of course.
We learn all about it, and then we have to start experiencing it and processing that experience and perfecting it, which you can only do through focus and commitment. And then it'll embody and it will drop as knowledge. Higher wisdom and higher knowledge.
Yeah, lovely. And when you pointed the crown and Bridget was doing something with her hand, it's again, I was hearing the word sovereignty, and then in that place you're becoming more as a sovereign being. You're tapped into that higher awareness, higher state of mind, and that more wholeness or holistic sense of embodiment. That's what was coming through, which is part of the process now. It's exciting.
Totally, we've got to become sovereign.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Because we've lost that sovereignty, we've been cut off from it. So it's really about reaching back for who we really were in the beginning before we got programmed.
Right, yeah, the whole complete being that came through the vortex, the birth canal now, that and then came into being as this, unconditional, loving, beautiful ball, and then just started to have the suffering experiences. Yeah. Ah, beautiful. Thank you, Bridget. That's our little soundbite. I mean, I'm so happy. That feels like a beautiful piece to share. Thank you so much.
My absolute pleasure.
Yeah, really, it's such a joy. For those listening, please, as always, under the footnotes, there will be a link there. Bridget's currently writing her second book. She just published her first one, but the second one, I just want you to just give the essence of the second book, just as a little seed, because you described it today, and I just want, don't give too much away, but just tell me what you're writing at the moment.
So I'm writing a book called The Bone Circle, and it's based on a training course that I developed myself, which brings in mind, body, spirit, past, present and future. It's about healing the past and unhooking it, about being fully present with lifestyle practice, and about creating the future. And it works a lot with intuition, but it's basically 18 bones, which are foundational pearls of wisdom, keys that unlock wisdom of the universe. They're truth bombs, and they are the structure on which you can build your life to create your best life and your best version of you, and to live your soul purpose. So it's each of the bones I'm beginning to write. So each chapter addresses one of those bones. The whole training is modular. And I'm really having fun writing it, because it's delving into many, many different things that I've learned over the years, both as a therapist and on a spiritual journey, and working a lot with creating and intuition.
Beautiful. I'm very, and the pieces you've told me, I've already feel inspired, and as you spoke now, I got the goosebumps. So I'm very happy just to plant that seed out there for those of you listening. That will be coming out when it comes out, but maybe we can do a little online Zoomie when it comes out. No, that would be nice.
That'd be awesome. I love that.
Yeah, we can go through that in more detail. So, for those listening to this one, this was really in alignment to the book Self-Love Now, 54 answers to the same question. You can download that on Amazon for your Kindle. You can get the hard copy. You can also receive it in the spirit of the gift, as is most of my offerings. So on my website, you can actually download the PDF version, and you can download that and gift whatever your heart wants to give. So if you're out there and you're like, you don't have any money right now, the minimum amount just to cover the things is like €1. So you can give €1 and you can get the PDF copy. But of course, as you know, with the gift, you can also give more and support me and support others to receive this book, because I actually use this book as a way of gifting to others that are journeying to get these 54, as Bridget said, different perspectives of how people love themselves and learn to love themselves. So hopefully it can serve you too. Thank you so much for tuning in. Bridget, thank you so much for allowing me to sit on your sofa with you. It feels just divine timing, as always. And thank you for your courage and your dedication and your devotion to supporting others. I get emotional. To supporting others.
Oh, Simon, it's an absolute pleasure. It's always great to see you. Thank you so much for inviting me back on the sofa.
Wow, magic. Thank you, everyone. Have a beautiful day. And this is the love coming in. But when you feel that love, you feel that devotion to humans awakening to the truth of who they are. It's really something special.
That's what it's all about.
Ciao. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. And if you did, please love it forward and share with your friends. You can download the digital version in the spirit of the gift, meaning you decide the amount you want to give. And if you're like me, you love holding a physical book in your hands, then you can also order that online at selflovenow.org.